Havening is a neuroscience-based technique that aims to remove the emotional distress of a memory, a particular traumatic memory from the past, from the actual mental kind of part of the memory. So you'll still be able to remember what happened. It just won't have that emotional distress and bodily response as you remember it. So this way, when you come across things in your life that might be triggers, remind you of that particular event, they won't be stressful anymore because that event is no longer remembered with that traumatic response, but rather just as a regular memory. This is a technique that consists of the practitioner will apply specific types of touch, so 3 types of touch, in the upper part of the arms, and also in the hands, and in the face as well. And the reason for this is because they've studied the types of touch and the areas of the body that would help produce the particular type of response that causes the emotional part of the memory to detach from the mental one. So I won't go into the science of it, but the generation of delta waves and things like that initiate that process. So essentially, the practitioner will ask you to recall the event for a brief moment so that those neurons become activated. And then you can let go of the event, and as the practitioner applies the Havening touch, or you can choose to apply it yourself if you prefer, they will just take you through some mental exercises like walking 10 steps on your favorite place, or picking up, just some distractions that you can follow and relax while your brain does what it needs to do in order to heal. Havening is a neuroscience-based technique, and the idea behind it is that when we suffer trauma, a traumatic event in some kind of context, the neurons in our brain in that moment get imprinted with a particular traumatic response. And from that moment onwards, whenever you access similar memories, it brings up those neurons and that response gets activated. So the emotional trigger that people get is because of that response. So this Havening technique, what it does is it separates the emotional trigger, the stress response, from the actual mental memory of what happened. So you retain the memory of what happened, but the emotional stress response is no longer there. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So it's no longer there in the body.
Yeah, it's no longer there in the body. So you can still remember what happened, but it won't sort of make your body turn into a kind of panic about it. Yeah, or whatever response that you get. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it can actually be quite confusing, my experience of it, or what I've seen so far, that when you're used to having that sort of stress response present with the triggers that you get in your day-to-day life, and then suddenly it's not there, it can actually be quite puzzling for people, and it's like you're almost like searching for it. Where is it? I know it's here somewhere, but you can't really find it anymore.
Great.
So yeah, so I'm just preparing you because it can be quite confusing. That's been my experience of it, and it's normal that you simply don't find it because you just access the memory in a different way than you were accessing it before.
Okay.
Yeah. Cool. And so this technique involves 3 types of we call Havening touch. One of them is in the shoulders like this. One of them is in the palms of the hands, and one of them is in the face, so up over the eyebrows and under the eyes. And the reason for this is because they've studied this neuroscientifically, and these are the types of touch in the areas of the body that will reduce the brain waves into delta waves, which is a key part of this process for it to detach those emotional parts of the memory.
Uh-huh.
Does that make sense?
And is it with here because it's visual?
This particular part, it's purely because it reduces those brain waves.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just the way that they've studied it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Cool.
Now, I'm happy to facilitate. One way is that I facilitate that for you, and another way is that you can do the touch on yourself. What would you prefer?
I would like for you to do it.
Yeah, sure. Great. So, can I try it on you? So, one of them is this type of touch in the upper arm. And then the other one, can you put your hands up for me? Yeah, you can leave them on your legs. It's fine.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Another one is like on your hands. And the other one is on your face. You touch your face. So something like this.
That's very relaxing.
It's very relaxing, okay. Are you comfortable with the three? Yeah, we don't have to do all three.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm comfortable with all.
Good. And so while I'm doing the havening touch, I might ask you to go through particular journeys, mental distractions that I'm going to take you through. And another thing that I might ask you to do is to open your eyes for a moment and follow my fingers. And the other thing I might ask you to do is to hum a tune like Twinkle Twinkle Little Star or whatever to like. To hum a tune, which also helps with the process.
And is it okay to cry?
Yes, it's perfectly okay to cry, yes.
Okay.
In fact, it is normal. What's going to happen is that in the beginning, I'm going to ask you to sort of think about the event, not just yet, but when we begin, I'm going to ask you to sort of bring it to your conscious attention, because that activates the neurons. And then you're going to let it go. So we're going to do other mental distractions and things. So it is normal, there can be some emotions flowing out, and that's perfectly normal. It's great if that happens, because the more of those kind of feeling states you've got activated, the more they will be neutralized. So anything that your neurons activate in that first moment, the idea is that it gets neutralized. So it's great. Yeah. And also, because this can be, you've lived with this trauma for a long time, and what I'd like to do is to create a safe space. I mean, obviously all of this is safe and confidential and all the rest, but is there a place like in your mind, a particular setting that you've been to in the past where you could sort of mentally go to that you'd feel really, really safe if you really needed it and felt distressed? Is there something that you could imagine, a situation that you could imagine that you'd feel comforted and calm?
When I did my hypnotherapy session, I randomly chose being on the bottom of the pool looking up through the water at the sun and like the bubbles and stuff. But I'm not sure with my trauma if that's the best safe place for me to choose.
Yeah.
So I might try to shift that.
Yeah, probably something that doesn't involve water would be nice.
Yeah. I can't think of anywhere off the top of my head. Just give me 1 second.
That's okay. We've got time.
Okay, I've got it.
You've got it? Great. Okay.
I have one other question. Do I need to do both traumas? Because I've never really addressed the other trauma from my childhood. I don't get flashbacks from that.
Choose one. We can do several sessions.
Okay.
So maybe just choose one, especially if there's a particular event associated with it. This works really well with events.
Okay.
It's a really good way in.
Okay.
So pick one, and then we can do other sessions. sometimes it sort of helps uncover the other things.
Okay.
So you've got this place in your mind that you could go if you really felt very distressed. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Okay, great. So are you ready to begin?
Mhm.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, and at certain stages of this procedure, I might ask you to give me a score from 0 to 10, in which 0 is in this moment you feel perfectly relaxed, don't feel any stress, or 10 is you feel acutely activated and distressed. So at certain stages, I'll ask you for a score so that I can sort of guide what I'm doing.
Okay.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Great. Can I just move your hair a little bit away from your face so that I can touch your face? Perfect. All right. Okay. So I'd like to invite you to think of the event that you're bringing today, and you can choose whether you'd like to tell me about it or whether you'd simply like to think about it in your mind.
I'm trying to think of which way will make more of the emotion come out of me.
Yeah, that's probably a good factor.
I think if I talk about it, it'll make it come out.
Doing really well. It's such a terrible thing that you're facing. I think, yes, I think that's enough for now. So, can I ask you just to give me a score from a 0 to 10? How are you feeling now?
I'm probably feeling it like a 9.
Yeah, okay, good. So I'm going to ask you now to let go of that. And put your hands out. That's really good. You've done perfect. That's really great. Well done. So I'm going to ask you now to think of some place that you've been to in the past that you really, really enjoyed yourself, where you could have a walk. Does anything come up in your mind?
Uh-huh.
Okay, great. So what does that place look like?
It's Sedona in Arizona, so it has red rocks and mountains.
Beautiful. So I'm going to ask you to take 20 steps in that place and to look at your feet and your footprints as you do it. And as you do, just keep counting them out loud from 0 to 20.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20.
Great. Doing really well. So now I'd like you to imagine that you won 10 tickets to your favorite place in the world. And so you can take 10 friends with you and go for a holiday there. Which friends would you take?
Charlotte, Christine, Devin, Darcy, Troy, Sam, Gina, Bianca, just trying to figure out who I want my last
Oh, big choice. That's big responsibility there.
Kalita, and Bex.
Well done. Good on you. If you want the tissue, feel free to let me know. Okay, great. So now I'm going to ask you to imagine that you're going to a supermarket and getting 10 items that you need to cook your favorite dinner. So get them into your trolley and you can say them out loud.
It's going to be burgers.
Awesome. Yeah, go nuts.
Okay.
It can be anything.
Burger buns.
Mm-hmm.
Burger meat. Mayonnaise.
Mm-hmm.
Lettuce. Tomato.
Uh-huh.
Onion. And then probably potatoes for chips.
Uh-huh.
And tomato sauce. And I don't know if it's all my things, but I'll put kombucha.
Uh-huh. Oh, well done. Go healthy after all that. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Yeah.
And I don't know how many more I have left, but
2.
Ice cream
Nice. Yeah, that's what I was
and sorbet, so that there are lots of options.
Oh, good. Yeah. Yeah. Well, very well. Okay, so I'm going to ask you now to think of that original event again and give me a score. How do you feel now?
Do I have to think all the way through?
No. Just an instant connecting with it.
I don't really feel connected to it at the moment.
Okay, so maybe just try for a moment.
Maybe like a 1 or a 2.
Okay, that's good. So let's carry on for a little bit. So what I'd like you to do now is to imagine that you've received a box, a very special box with 5 positive messages that future you has sent to yourself.
Oh.
Yeah, so as you open the box, these messages are in tiny little papers. As you open each one, you can read them out loud.
You did it?
Yeah.
You're worthy.
Mm-hmm.
You love yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You've found contentment.
Mm-hmm.
And you've learned how to manage your condition.
Beautiful. It's really, really lovely. So now I'd like to ask you to count down from 40 to 0 in threes. So like 40, 37, etc.
40, 37, 34, 31.
It's okay if you miss a number.
28,
Uh-huh.
25, 22, 19, 16, 13, 9, 6, 3, 0.
Well done. So I'd like you to do now, I'm going to name some body parts. And as I name them, you can just try and feel them. There's nothing that you need to do or say, just trying to get a sense of that body part. So the tip of your nose, the back of your head, your right foot, your left thumb, your tongue, back of your eyes, your left elbow, your right elbow, your right heel, your right index finger from your right hand, your middle finger from your left hand, your neck, and your belly button. Very good. So now I'd like you to try and remember the event again, and give me a score from 0 to 10.
Maybe like a 0.5.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a...
Yeah, that's a thing. That's a thing. The 0.5 is definitely a thing. Very good. Doing great. Very good. Okay, so now I'm gonna ask you to tell me if you could choose 5 places in the world where to take the same group of friends that you've chosen. What would those places be?
Costa Rica.
Mm.
India. Specifically, I'd like to hang out with the Dalai Lama.
Ah, yeah, cool. You know?
Sorry, I'm just thinking of my options.
Yeah. That's
Chile.
Chile, okay.
Byron Bay in Australia.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, and the Great Barrier Reef.
No, perfect. Oh, what a trip. Very good. So I'm going to ask you to open your eyes now and follow my fingers. Very good. You can close them now. Well done. Great. So now I'm going to ask you to count down from 50 to 0 in 4s.
50, 46, 42, 38, 34, 30, 26, 22, 18, 14, 10, 6,
Mm-hmm.
2,
Mm-hmm.
2.
Good. Well done. That's awesome. So I'd like you to tell me now, how would you prepare? Do you cook?
I do. I don't like it, but I do.
You don't like it? Okay. Okay, so maybe let's not cook. Let's do something else. Do you like gardens? Flowers?
Uh-huh.
Do you prefer flowers or fruits?
Fruits.
Okay, fruits. So I'm going to ask you to think of 5 fruits that you might like to eat, and then imagine what they taste like. And you can say them out, the names of the fruits out loud as you imagine the taste.
Avocado.
Mm-hmm.
And that tastes like creamy.
Nice.
And light.
I love avocados.
Mm.
Uh-huh.
Mandarins. And they taste sweet. And apples.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess the texture is a bit hard.
Mm-hmm.
Watermelon.
Nice.
Really good and juicy.
Mm-hmm.
And because it's a dream world, maybe I could have bananas.
You can't eat bananas?
No, I can, but
Oh.
Okay. Not sure I would get a banana tree.
Okay.
And those are soft.
Nice. You're doing great. Okay, so I'd like you to bring back the event again and tell me a score. 0 to 10.
I need to think through the whole thing, right?
It's pretty big. Just maybe if you can try and imagine it in one kind of
block.
Yeah, it's a block.
I think it could be a 0.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just trying to see if maybe my neck was holding any of it, because that's where I usually hold it.
But has something in that memory changed at all?
It just doesn't feel. I don't feel the same. I don't feel the feeling.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how to describe it.
Yeah. Sometimes something in the memory changes, like you can remember some other details, contextual details there, or you feel yourself further away or closer or in a different position. Sometimes little things change, sometimes they don't. That's what I was asking.
I think if anything, it might be feeling more like out of body, like I'm separate from myself, kind of.
Yeah.
Like the person that went through that and the person like sitting in this chair are 2 different people.
Yeah. So a little bit of distance from what was happening at the time. Yeah. That's really good. You've done amazing. You're like a hero. I'm really impressed with
Thanks for doing
all of this. And you can start to open your eyes gently when you like. Take a moment to sort of integrate and allow that to, because your brain has been through changes and is now your whole kind of being is now integrating those changes. So allow yourself a little bit of time and space for that to sort of now readjust to this new way of being.
And so this is something I can do to myself?
You can do this to yourself as well, like in any situation. Should I teach you how to engage with this process? Yeah. Okay. So the time when you could do this is when you're feeling activated, like if you're feeling distressed about something, you feel like your body's stressed, and that's the time when you would use havening. And because those neurons need to be activated, so otherwise it's not really doing anything. It works on the neurons that are stressed at the time. So if you feel that, then you can begin the havening touch. And there's these 3 types of touch. Yeah, like from shoulder to elbow. That's one. Another one is the hands. You can rub them on each other like this, or some people do it like this. Whatever works better for you. The important thing is that these sensors in the hands get activated. And then the face one is you can either do like the top, or you can do the top and the bottom of the eyes as well at the same time, if you like. Yeah, as long as you're not sort of putting your fingers on the eyes. So like this, and just through the face. Yeah, you can do it like this, or you can swap the hands, which is kind of a different feeling altogether.
Either of those works, as long as these senses above the eyes and below the eyes are being activated, which is however you'd like to do it. Whatever works better for you.
I like that. It feels really nice.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I thought that this was the most relaxing one for you in the face. Yeah. And so you'd, from the moment that, let's say something happens at work and you're really activated. I mean, you can go to the toilet and, do a bit of havening. If it happens that you're actually not capable of doing that at the time, and then you go home, it's like, right, now I want to work on what happened, you'd have to bring up the event in your mind again so that you can sort of get a bit activated and then start havening. Once, from the moment that you start havening, you can let go of the event. Like, the event is no longer relevant because the activation lasts for about 7 minutes. So from the moment that you get activated, you've got 7 minutes to work with. So you can do the havening touch and think about what shopping you're going to do for dinner, or what you're going to order, or about your partner, about whatever you want to think about. And then after 7 minutes, you can check in with yourself. I feel good now, or I still feel a bit attached to that memory. And if you do, then bring up the memory again and get the feelings activated again. Carry on with the havening. Let go of the memory, carry on.
So if a lot of the times I feel triggered from surfing, which is not that event, but it's like, I get triggered by the wind or the whatever, I can do it then and focus on what I'm feeling in that moment in relation to the trigger that I'm having there, but I don't need to think about the initial event, or do I?
The one that we've just havened? No.
Okay, so just think about what is triggering me.
Yeah.
Acknowledge what is triggering me then, and then think about the other stuff for 7 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay.
It would be interesting to see whether those things are still going to trigger you, because a lot of them stemmed from the original event. So it'd be interesting to see now what sometimes we have an event and then some adjacent areas sort of start to pop up, and we can have in those as well. Or sometimes it's just like, well, the event's not there, so the triggers are no longer kind of valid or working. So I'd be interested to see what happens, how this impacts that.
That'd be good.
But yeah, if you do feel particular triggers, just haven that. Or we can do like a havening session at some stage about events. Like, see how you feel next week.
Yeah.
And see if, when I think about this, I still have some triggers. And then we can haven that.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah.
I feel good. I feel good.
Cool.
Yeah. Thank you.
Cool.